music.
Our country is going to be stronger than ever before. I think that next year is going to be a tremendous success. I feel that if the Democrats get in, we are literally going to end up in a recession/depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
But the defund the police idea, I cannot for the life of me grasp.
How you mentioned it.
It's for real.
Now to the race for the White House, and after decades of very publicly flirting with the idea, billionaire Donald Trump says he really is running for president this time around.
Donald Trump is running for president.
This phrase is not from any movie I, nor my colleagues, can remember.
Do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself, and you will find the truth behind what Joe Biden has not done for our community and the truth as to what Donald Trump has done for our community.
We're talking about basement Biden, right? What is his agenda? Has he really even told us what his agenda is?
Remember, this Congress started off with the Democrats saying we should abolish ICE. It then moved to we should abolish the entire Department of Homeland Security.
We have to go to the polls on November 3rd, and the rest you know what to do. You know what to do. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Team Trump Online, Latinos for Trump. It's going to be a great night. I've got great guests with me. Let me introduce you to our wonderful Congresswoman, Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, who is coming from us from Puerto Rico. Thank you, Jennifer, for being here with us.
Thank you, Mercedes. I'm so happy and thrilled to join you in this Latino for Trump Online. I think it's a great opportunity for Latinos to know what's going on, what's our president doing, what's the administration doing for Latinos and for the people of Puerto Rico that you may know. We got hit by Irma, Maria, the hurricanes, earthquakes, now the pandemic. And if it's not by the administration, a lot of the reconstruction of the island will never be done. So I'm happy to join you tonight.
That's great. And we also have with us Nicole Walter, who is, I think, one of our dynamic Latina business leaders. I'm so proud to introduce her. She is president and CEO of HM Manufacturing. Nicole, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this.
And of course, we have Alfredo Ortiz. He is president and CEO of the Job Creators Network and obviously part of our Latinos for Trump Coalition Advisory Board. He's been a great patriot, a great champion for the president. Alfredo, thank you again for joining us.
Mercy, thank you very much for the opportunity. I look forward to it.
Be sure to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. You know, familia is very important to Latinos, and we want to make sure that they are able to listen in and learn about what's happening with the presidential campaign and how we are going to defeat Joe Biden come November. But let's get started. So we've been hit, obviously, by this tough coronavirus pandemic. I mean, it's impacted all of our lives. And I think it's really impacted also the small businesses. But let me start with you, Congresswoman. How have you seen Congress work together and the president leading in his effort to ensure that we provide immediate relief to our families and also to small businesses?
I believe never before the United States Congress has been led by the president in terms of what to do. There's been a lot of conference calls, a lot of cabinet meetings with members. The PPP, the program protection from SBA for the small business around the nation, has been, I think, the greatest tool yet to manage the impact of a lot of jobs lockdown and how the small businesses were affected. In the case of Puerto Rico, I will tell you directly, more than 34,000 loans are being approved during this month, and to a total of $1.7 billion just in small businesses in the island. So I think this is one of the greatest tools for the reconstruction after the pandemic. But it's not just that. It's leading the effort for pharmaceuticals, leading the efforts for PPEs, and actually bringing the whole nation together, working to defeat this pandemic. This is not going to be the only one. We need to learn how to live with this kind of things, and we need to reopen the economy. And I think the president, in that sense, has been leading the way, approving funds. Just Puerto Rico, we just got $7 billion from different packages that the president signed. So that's the best example of what can be done when you work together with administration.
That's right. And I think the president knew it was very important to ensure that the small businesses get this assistance. You talked about the Paycheck Protection Program. This money is being distributed across the board for small businesses and really allowing small businesses to survive during this time. Alfredo, you work very closely with small business leaders. What has been their reaction to the president's actions in supporting these efforts?
Yeah, I have to tell you, Mercy, it has to be one of the biggest things that the president really has championed during this whole COVID crisis. The Congresswoman mentioned that the success, this is truly an unmitigated success. Even Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, even they reluctantly and grudgingly have to admit that this was an unmitigated success. Over 53 million jobs have been saved because of the Paycheck Protection Program. Billions have been spent, hundreds of billions, almost $600 billion put back into the hands of small business owners so that they could keep our hardworking Americans, whether they were Latinos, Asian Americans, Black Americans, Hispanics, that doesn't matter. You know, again, 50+ million Americans really were saved, because of this Paycheck Protection Program. And Mercy, we got to remember, this was incredible what President Trump did along with Secretary Mnuchin and SBA Administrator Carranza. Really amazing, within 7 days being able to put together a massive government program. Only somebody with a leadership style and a business mentality like President Trump has could pull something like that off within a handful of days. And again, if it hadn't been for that, small business owners would have been dire straits. It's already tough out there. A lot of the fake news, of course, trying to spread that fear. We've actually launched a campaign called Flatten the Fear, because we really believe it's just one-sided story that the left-wing media is really putting out there, and it's pushing progressives, or as I call them, regressives, and their information out there. But the Paycheck Protection Program was just so vital for Nicole. And I know Nicole is actually, for example, one great example of our members that received that help.
Alfredo, what are you talking about? Fake news? There's no such thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Man, I have to tell you, Mercy, it's just unbelievable. And nobody, of course, fact checks them. So, we're trying to fact check them and making sure the American public has all the information in their hands. You know what? So that they can make their own decision. We don't need to make their, decisions for them. Americans can make their own decisions, provided that they have all of the information at their fingertips.
Well, I think the American public, especially the Trump supporters, definitely fact check the media. They've realized that the media can be very untruthful, and they're not giving the straight facts or having objective journalism, which is something the president has pointed out since day one. But Nicole, I want to turn to you as being a leader, a strong business leader, you in manufacturing specifically. Now, let's remember, it was President Obama and Joe Biden who said, oh, we're going to need a magic wand to bring back the manufacturing jobs. And guess who did it? President Trump. So walk me through why it's so important at this point in supporting President Trump to bring back manufacturing jobs to the United States.
Well, what's really interesting about that whole scenario is that by 2028, they did a study and they said 2.4 million jobs for manufacturing will go unfilled if we don't do something about that. And that is $454 billion in lost production revenue. And so we risk that by going back overseas. So President Trump has been fantastic with leading the way and getting our reshoring initiatives back here. I'm busier than ever. I'm seeing more aerospace contracts, defense contracts, more food processing, beverage companies come back. I've been able to hire more skilled workers. I've grown in revenue. I've also been able to do more capital expenditure and get new technology, have internships. So it's really important to keep paving the way and to make sure that we have manufacturing, because manufacturing, let's be honest, makes the economy roll. And that's what we need to keep doing.
That's right. And Nicole, I just love your stories. It's a family-owned business for 42 years. It's just remarkable. Do you want to share what you do? Because I was so impressed with it. I was like, I can't even do that job. There's no way.
Yes. So we are a power transmission components provider, and we specialize in gearboxes and pulleys and gears and shafts and splines and everything that goes into food processing, beverage, packaging industries, aerospace, defense, medical, you name it, we do it. So we do a plethora of things, and we're pretty proud of it.
Well, you're too smart for me. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think you can hire me. I don't qualify in any way. But the Congresswoman might qualify, let me tell you. But Congresswoman, let me turn to you for two minutes here. So in terms of the president, who realizes that it's important to reopen the economy now, obviously, he's working with state and local officials. He's talking to the governors. They're taking responsible and safe steps to reopen the economy. You know, and obviously, I think that Americans are concerned about coronavirus and the impact it will have. We've already seen the number of deaths come down, but at the same time, you know, we are very much tracking what's happening with the coronavirus as we've flattened the curve and try to ensure that we limit the number of cases. Walk us through this balance between reopening the economy, as President Trump has said, as well as ensuring the health and safety of the American people.
I think that's the way to go. I mean, in the case of my island, I can tell you that we were in a strict lockdown since March 15. So the whole economy was stopped on the island. Now it's open. I mean, everything is open. Even the movie theaters are open in Puerto Rico right now. Gyms, among many others. So that's a way to do things safely. And as I mentioned before, we need to learn how to live with this pandemic. We need to learn how to live with this kind of epidemic. Why? Because today is coronavirus. 6 months is going to be another one. So we need to take care of ourselves, change our habits in terms of washing the hands and using masks, among other things. But you know what? We were mentioning the PPP. There's also the loans from SBA, from disaster, IDL. There's a lot of opportunities. The Trump check, as we call it in Puerto Rico, from $1,200. Those kind of incentives help out a lot of people getting out of they were out of their jobs, and help them put food on their table. So that's the reason I think this administration needs to stay for 4 more years. We need to have that economy driven and opportunities, and I think Latinos has benefited from this. I will tell you my experience. I was meeting with the White House officials, Senator Marco Rubio, Dr. Navarro. We're talking about bringing manufacturing companies from China to U.S. soil. Guess what? Many people think, and Biden think, that Puerto Rico is just tourism, and it's not. Actually, 47% of our economy is pharmaceutical industry and medical devices. So we're working with the president and his administration to bring back all those companies that left the United States and have a supply chain back in the U.S. And I think we got the workforce. We can work this together, and this will be a great opportunity to have more economic development in the States.
Yeah, and Congresswoman, I think you're making a great pitch for us to go visit Puerto Rico, because if the movie theaters are open and the restaurants are open, I'm in, and Matt Schlapp is in, and the whole Schlapp clan would love to go be in a place where it's a little more open and not as restricted as some of these states led by Democrat governors who are handling the situation. But
don't forget us folks too there, Mercy. I'll take a trip to Puerto Rico any day.
Oh,
I can invite you all, and we can do something here.
Oh, I think that's what would be our favorite dish to eat while we're down there?
I mean, you got a lot of Latino and local cuisine. I will say mofongo.
There you go.
a lot of pork here, but we got a very wide menu, so everybody can feel comfortable eating here.
So all of you who are watching, here's the deal. Like, work really hard right now to get President Trump reelected by November, and then we'll just all go to Puerto Rico. How about that? Is that a plan? Yeah, I think that works. But Alfredo, let me turn to you. So we know that the president has been focused on also not just reopening the economy, but rebuilding the economy. And this is in stark contrast to Joe Biden, who we know has been one who said, I'm going to raise taxes. How detrimental will it be for a Joe Biden to win this election to our country? What would that mean for our country?
Mercy, that is just one frightening, horrific nightmare scenario you just described, because right now the only thing that's really going to get us out of this pandemic, kind of post-pandemic crisis we're in, are great ideas and great initiatives that President Trump from day one has put in place. He understands, first of all, that small business is the backbone of our country, and not only of our country, but of our communities, and that lower taxes and a lower regulatory environment got us where we are. Remember, Mercy, just a handful of months ago, before this pandemic hit, thanks to China, frankly, we had record low unemployment, not amongst just in general, but amongst every single demographic, amongst Latinos. We had the lowest unemployment in record history. We had 1/3 of new home purchases were in the hands of Hispanic entrepreneurs, Latinas. Latina entrepreneurs were doing extremely well, right? So the reason why we're seeing, this kind of recovery already post-pandemic, and even though we may be seeing some uptick in cases, which quite frankly, if you test more, you're going to see more cases. I mean, that's right. Just common sense. Mm-hmm. But, overall, the reason we're seeing this kind of rebound is because we had such an incredibly strong economy, Mercy, going into this. If we had imagined Joe Biden, right, leading this, or a Hillary Clinton presidency, I can't even imagine what this would have been like. They would have been hitting us probably with more taxes, more regulations. I mean, if you look right now, the states that are actually doing fairly well, that are at least coming back post-pandemic on the other side of this curve, it's actually quite frankly led by Republican governors, right, that have been working hand in hand with the president and his leadership to make sure that those states have what they need to really recover the way it needs to be. And small business really has been at the core of that. Small business was at the core of the extraordinary growth that we were having beforehand, and really are going to be the ones that get us out of it. But again, we mentioned a lot of the Paycheck Protection Program. We were very involved in that, along with Secretary Mnuchin, working side by side, providing him that kind of input that was needed for the program. But again, it's those kinds of ideas and those kinds of initiatives in a rush to get things done the right way, the way a business person was. I can't even imagine what this would have been like with Joe Biden. He would probably still trying to figure out where he was in his basement before even trying to figure out what we needed to do for our country.
Yeah, I have a feeling Joe Biden's still stuck in the basement somewhere. He literally comes out maybe on occasion.
Yeah, it's kind of like Groundhog Day, I think, for him. It's like
I wonder if we'll see his shadow or something.
That's what I was wondering.
It'll make winter a lot longer, but not.
Yes, or maybe it just means 4 more years of President Trump.
That's right. That is right. You're so right. But let me tell you, we know President Trump is focused on rebuilding this economy. Joe Biden would destroy this economy.
He would.
And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to commercial break, but please stay with us. We have these great guests. We'll be right back.
Antifa is destroying our communities, rioting, looting. Yet Joe Biden kneels down and his staff sends money for bail. And Biden fails to stand up to the radical leftists fighting to defund and abolish the police. With Biden kneeling to the left, we'd have chaos in the streets. President Trump is standing up for us, keeping our communities safe, protecting minority-owned businesses, and always standing for our flag.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
As we have already seen, his America First agenda has lifted all Americans up and have empowered them with true economic emancipation that has once again made the American dream possible. That's why I want you to text EMPOWER to 88022 right now if you want to keep America great and deliver 4 more years for President Donald J. Trump.
Bienvenidos and welcome back to Latinos for Trump. I'm joined with a fabulous panel. Congresswoman Jennifer Gonzalez from Puerto Rico, Alfredo Ortiz, and Nicole Wolter. Thank you all again for joining us. Now I want to turn our attention, I know we've been talking about the economy, but let's turn our attention to the importance and the priority of this president being a president of law and order, and his priority to keep our communities safe. I think what we have witnessed thus far in terms of the anarchy in so many of these cities that are controlled by Democrat mayors and letting these places go wild, and then the attacks and the destruction of the property and of our statues like Christopher Columbus, like Ponce de Leon, like one of the saints, Saint Junipero from San Francisco, is absolutely disgraceful. Congresswoman, I'm going to go to you first. Why does Joe Biden refuse to condemn this anarchy?
Because he's part of it. That's the simple question. He's part of it. And you know why? Because we just saw during the last primary on Tuesday a lot of left people being elected in the Democratic primaries, more progressive, and they're going to be running for Congress. And what that means that they want to make the United States a socialist country. They want to make the United States a communist country. They're trying to mirror the United States to Venezuela. They're trying to mirror the United States to Cuba, and that's not what we are. We are a democratic country that cherish our values and our opportunities for small businesses, for everybody, for law and order. And that's the reason we need to support President Trump. We can't afford all the history, all the achievement that we've made for history to be now Venezuela or Cuba with those kind of leaders. Those are the progressives that are being elected. Those are the members that Biden is supporting in all those primaries. So I think the United States should wake up and not allow this to happen. And that's the reason we need to maintain our support to President Trump and the administration.
Yeah, it's really important to remind our amigos from the Democrat Party, okay, because I think we still have friends in the Democrat Party, to remind them that Joe Biden is not a moderate. Joe Biden has to embrace the radical left in order for him to get elected. And there's no question that the Democrat Party has shifted far to the left. But let's play a clip first. I want to get your reaction, Alfredo. Let's play a clip first from President Trump this week when he was in Arizona.
We believe in law and order. We support the men and women of law enforcement, and we stand with the citizens in every city and every community and every part of our country who wish to live in safety, security, dignity, and peace.
So, Alfredo, the president's talking about he's standing with safe communities. He is the one president of law and order. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's right, Mercy. I mean, not only is he the president of law and order, he's really the president of common sense. I mean, we're hearing this across our small business owners across the country, people who have been actually victims of the riots, of the looting that has taken place. I'm here right now in Arlington, just across the way, basically across the bridge in Georgetown. I just walked over there to talk to a few of these small business owners. Everything's boarded up, Mercy. It's like a third world over there. It's crazy. And then we have, these mayors like in Seattle that called it the Summer of Love. Boy, did she quickly learn how that can really get out of control. Now she's asking that it all end, that it all stop, that we bring this back. I mean, this is what happens when you have people who don't know true leadership. Our communities need our law enforcement. 800,000 people call themselves police officers. To put them all in this bucket of horrible people that impact our communities in such horrible ways is just honestly, it's just sad because, there are people who lost their lives. If you think about it, these police officers, the majority of them are good people who leave in the morning not knowing if they're going to see their families when they come back. And they do that because they love our country, they love protecting the communities, and we do have to stand by our law enforcement officers. Are there a handful of bad ones? Absolutely. And we have to make sure that we create a system that weeds out these bad ones, right? But you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater in this particular case. And Seattle has seen what happens when you had 2 shootings, for example, this past weekend. There was nobody there to protect those people.
Right.
And
That's
so
right.
this is about the safety of our communities, the safety of our business. It's the backbone of our country. If you don't have law and order, you have anarchy, which is obviously what Soros and that entire, what I call regressives, like AOC and stuff like that, just embrace.
I'm going to start using regressives. I like that. That's a good term. I haven't used that one. We always say progressives. You're right. They're regressives. Absolutely.
They are. They really are. And we're going backwards in the country because of them and their policies.
The good thing is we're not going to go backwards because we have tremendous leaders in each one of you and President Trump to ensure that we save America. And I will tell you something about Seattle. I think it's really important for people to understand. They created this autonomous zone. They literally build walls up. Okay. I love it because the Democrats don't want to talk about building the walls, but then they built up these walls, kept the police out, created their own pseudo government and called it was first Chaz, now it's CHOP. And you're right. The mayor did say, oh, it's summer of love. Well, it ended up being summer of blood because we saw 2 people die and the police could not get to them. And the police couldn't get to specific areas to deal with 911 calls. That is disgraceful. And then, of course, you see in the case of Minneapolis City Police where they're saying they voted to disband the police. I mean, you look at the poll numbers, 57% of Hispanics say they oppose basically defunding the police. I mean, for Latinos, safety is important. Nicole, as a small business leader, I mean, you must feel, this sense of ensuring that there is safety in your community as well. Why is that critical?
Well, because you have to make sure that your employees are safe. You never know if they're going to come and they're going to loot. Maybe they're going to come in at gunpoint. You just don't know. We have machinery here. We have a lot of individuals that are here. We have a lot of minorities too. 1/3 of my staff is minority. We're a lot of Latinos. And so I want to make sure that we stay safe and we're able to grow within our community as well and give back. And the more that there is destruction, the less we're able to do on an economic standpoint and also for everyone that's in this industrial park as well.
And you're right, minority communities and businesses were impacted by these riots. Congresswoman, I want to go to you quickly. In terms of the First Amendment, we do believe in peacefully coming together and assembling. It is why we stand with peaceful protesters. But it is when you have the Antifas, the rioters, the Marxists, the communists, all come together to create mayhem and basically be destructive. Explain why it's important for there to be law and order here in the United States.
Easy. I mean, even Martin Luther King say it. I mean, you can do messaging, you can reflect on what steps should be done, but it should be a dialogue. It should be, thinking what we can do as a country, what we can do as a nation to put forward new policies, to embrace them and allow the people to get participation and recognition. But it's not doing looting. It's not destroying the community. It's not destroying your neighbor's house. It's not destroying your small businesses in your community. That's not the way to do it because a lot of people that are not part of this protest or giving this messaging are taking this as advantage to fulfill and support, the anarchy. And you just mentioned it, Antifa and many others. So they just want to change the way of life of the United States. And that's completely different from the real protests and the march that are being done. I think people should think about it, seeing those images, what is happening with our nation. I think there's a lot that can be done, sitting on a table, bringing new ideas like Senator Scott is bringing to the table and many others. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Let's think together. Let's support a lot of those ideas and make it happen. But destroying the community, destroying businesses, I think that's putting in danger the life of a lot of people, even kids that are participating in those march. I think that's something that do not reflect what Americans are.
That's beautifully said. And I just want to, I talked to my mom just yesterday and she really broke down in tears in being so worried about the future of our country. But we know, Alfredo, that in a time of crisis, we need leadership. And why is President Trump the right leader for this time?
Like I say, he's not only the president of law and order, the president of common sense. I mean, in all aspects, you know, from his policies on taxes, on lower regulations, on trade. Again, you know, the efforts of Senator Scott, for example, working with the Trump administration, putting forth, you know, the right efforts and the way, the approach. I mean, the Congresswoman just mentioned that, having these conversations, right? It's, you know, the president has taken on a lot of unpopular things because they had to be fixed. The one thing that the president is not, he is not the kind of president who just kicks the can down the street to the next administration or just keeps pushing things. He deals with the problems as they come up. And, you know, that's the kind of leadership. He always said, he goes, I'm not going to be the most popular president. He goes, but I'm going to make sure that I'm the right president to make sure that this country moves forward and not backwards, because that's exactly where the Democrats would take it. With, you know, a Biden administration, again, I mean, it would really be disastrous for our country from an economic standpoint, for our small businesses. I mean, he would be about more regulation, about higher taxes. We were there. We were there under the Obama administration. I was talking to small business owners across the country at that time. Remember, under an Obama administration, which Biden so cherishes and tries to emulate, we had really record high employment in many of these demographic groups that we're talking about now, that just before this COVID crisis had record low unemployment. And really, we had what I called negative entrepreneurialism. More businesses were closing than they were actually opening under the Obama administration. President Trump understood that that could not happen and reversed that trend immediately. And again, that is why we're going to get out of this crisis healthy and even stronger than before, because we were healthy and strong going into it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I have to say, you know, I think the focus is right now, it is going to be that election of choice. And I think people are going to say, who's the guy who's going to bring the economy roaring back? Who's the one who's going to stifle the economy? It's a clear choice. President Trump is going to be the one to rebuild the economy. We are going to take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, I'm Lara Trump. The race to November is heating up and the Trump campaign is gearing up to work harder than ever before to secure 4 more years for President Trump. To achieve this historic win, we need you, your friends, your neighbors, and your families to join our movement. Ready to fight for President Trump? Text ENLIST to 88022 and register at armyfortrump.com today.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump and you ain't black, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump and you ain't black, and you ain't black, and you ain't black.
Welcome back to Latinos for Trump. I'm joined with Alfredo Ortiz as well as Nicole Walter. Thank you both for joining us. The Congresswoman had to slip off, but we're still going to continue on our discussion. Nicole, I'm going to go to you first. So Latinos play a big role in manufacturing. I think that's something that people don't know enough about. Why is it that President Trump is doing the right thing to protect manufacturing jobs?
Well, you know, for me in general, like I said earlier, I have a third of my workforce who is Latinos. And over the years, we've been able to upskill them. So it's not like they have jobs that are $10 an hour or $15 an hour. They're doing the high level manufacturing jobs, anywhere from $20 to $35 an hour. And I think that is paramount for the Latinos to know that there is that course that you can go and do the high paying jobs that obviously helps with your family. And it's the spirit of innovation that they get to see and they get to witness. That is fantastic. The majority of my Latinos actually are spearheading their own division. So it's fun to see the growth internally. It's fun to see that they're growing pay-wise, economic-wise. I've seen them now get cars. They're purchasing homes. They're now sending their kids to better schools and now also for vocational schools as well to see the impact of what they've been able to do as a first or second generation Latino. And I just think that we've been able to do a lot, especially in manufacturing. And then, you know, there's stats out there that says 4.5 million small business owners are minority owned. And I think that's fantastic. And we should keep promoting that and pushing that so we can start seeing more innovation, more technology, and more minorities.
Yeah, I love the point that you brought up vocational education, because this is something that President Trump and actually Ivanka Trump spearheaded early on. They understood that education wasn't just K through 12 or going to college, or that everybody has to go to college. This is about finding the right fit for the individual. So how does vocational education play a role, Nicole, in your company?
Well, it's everything. You know, I have a lot of students that I have as interns and even do apprenticeship programs, and they come with no skills whatsoever. And we also need to realize that college is not the end all be all. That shouldn't just be the immediate pathway. We need to give individuals an understanding that you can do more than just go to college. And we need to nurture that excitement and being able to work with your hands mechanically and do other things. What happens when we don't have carpenters and we don't have manufacturers? Then for the manufacturers, we look to robotics. And that's a scary thing, because that means less jobs, less opportunities. And on a global scale, to be competitive, that's scary. We need to keep the workforce engaged and excited, and to be able to promote that.
That is excellent. Let me go to you, Alfredo. So China.
Yes.
Big problem. We've seen for a long time that China has been stealing our jobs, stealing our intellectual property, acting like being a bad actor. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, Joe Biden is a globalist. He doesn't think China is a competitor. What are your thoughts about the importance of President Trump being so tough against China?
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly, Mercy, I've got 3 words on that, actually. Make China pay. There we go. Truly, President Trump understands this, right? I mean, we have to make China pay on this. It clearly is something that they knew what they had back in November, and they clearly exposed the entire country to this pandemic when it could have been controlled. Trillions of dollars of economic damage that it has cost our economy. Tens of millions of jobs really have been damaged because of that. And so we need to make sure that China does pay, and that the American public understands that this is where it started, and that's where we need to go take this battle. And this onshoring, I think, is so critical. President Trump understands the whole supply chain aspect of this. We've got to bring that manufacturing back from China, back to the U.S. This onshoring is so important and critical opportunities, for example, for Nicole to expand her business. I am sure there are things there that if we do this onshoring correctly and quickly, we can have opportunities for her and other small business owners, quite frankly, that may have been displaced because of this whole coronavirus pandemic that the Chinese really started and spread across the globe. And really, quite frankly, the lies that they had and false truths really of holding information back from the entire world and from the U.S. specifically really is why where we are today. And so fortunately, President Trump acted quickly and decisively from the beginning, shutting down, for example, air traffic from China to the U.S. Was a critical step. Imagine if he hadn't done that. And remember, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, they were the first ones to say he's being homophobic, xenophobic, racist, all of the other phobics that they can think of. Remember, even Nancy went out to in San Francisco to Chinatown and said everything's perfect, everything's fine, right? The president understood where the problems were, that this really stemmed from China. And it's that kind of decisive action that has saved our country from even worse disaster, from really millions of deaths. Any death is a horrible tragedy, Mercy, so I'm not trying to downplay that. There are over 100,000 plus deaths, but imagine how much worse it could have been. And right now, what we need to do, too, is we need to make sure that our economy opens up safely and smartly. We can't have further shutdowns, and we can't let the regressives and the media on the left control this one-sided message. We got to get the truth to the American public. And again, but as with China, says it right there, make China pay.
Make China pay, baby. And we make America great. That's for sure. And I think President Trump understands that. Before we go, I want to get your final thoughts. Nicole, let me start with you. The importance of Latinos in this election. What is it going to take to ensure that they understand the need for this leadership at this time to ensure that we bring jobs back to the U.S., that will benefit the Latino community?
Well, I think they need to realize where they're feeling. Were they better off today than they were a few years ago? Are they thriving? Are their communities thriving? Are their families thriving? And to me, the answer is yes. Just from my own perspective, from what I see in my company, I've given raises and bonuses. I have seen them be able to do more for their families. And we need to keep encouraging that and nurturing that feeling of we're doing better. There's less taxes coming out. Because of that, I'm able to provide 100% health care for them. And that's not going out of their pockets. So they're able to do more economically. I see them being able to travel more, go to school again, take on other avenues of resources. They're even talking about maybe they'd like to start their own businesses. And I'm okay with that because the whole purpose is capitalism to continue to thrive and move forward. And under this administration, we're able to do that.
So let me ask you, Alfredo, we saw 2.5 million jobs created in the May jobs report. It shocked the media. It shocked the Democrats. Joe Biden had to go rewrite his speech before he came out on his press conference. Why is it so critical? What is your message to those Latino voters out there who may be on the fence?
Yeah, that's right, Mercy. What we have experienced really was what I call a situational recession, which, by the way, was the shortest recession probably in history. It was really a handful of months, basically. What we would have is a systemic recession if it was a Joe Biden administration come November, because he would start implementing policies that we know are regressive in nature, that we know are not good for the economy. It would be about higher taxes and more regulations, the two primary things that from day one President Trump attacked. And then you have the whole healthcare policy, which, by the way, you can start seeing that they're going to start introducing, and then think about even like these Green New Deal ideas. I mean, if it's a Trump administration, you're going to have, for example, Elizabeth Warren, probably the Secretary of Commerce. You're going to have AOC maybe involved as, Secretary of, the Interior, or even worse, or EPA or something. I mean,
down all the monuments if she's like the Secretary of the Interior. We're not even going to have the Lincoln Memorial. They'll probably like redrape it or something.
Yeah, I mean, just the disaster that this would have. I mean, we know that the policies work. We know that everything was. We got to put the past few months basically as an anomaly. It happened because of China, right? And a virus that came from China that attacked the U.S. And again, because of decisive efforts and actions by the president, he stopped what could have been a true disaster for this United States, where millions of people had died. Again, every death is a horrible loss, and there are over 100,000 Americans. But imagine how much worse it could have been. That's what it would have been under the Biden administration, because they would not have taken the kind of action that the president took. So I think, Latinos understand that they were doing incredibly well. Again, record low unemployment, record home ownership. Latinas in terms of entrepreneurialism doing extremely well. Those are the kind of policies that this country needs and needs to continue, so that we can truly have just an economy that's the envy of the world.
So can I tell you, Alfredo and Nicole, so you know who would be ambassador to China? Guess. Hunter Biden. Got an even better one for you. So you know who would run and be like the public liaison to the Communist Party?
Yeah.
Sanders. I mean, we could really have a lot of fun with these cabinet picks. I'm serious.
Oh man, we should start doing that. We should start doing that. We should start pretty much putting together a Biden cabinet and see how disastrous that would be.
Oh, that would be great. Darren on our production team. Darren, make sure we do like our special on the Biden cabinet picks. I think we could have a great time.
You know what? And you can call it. It's not the kitchen cabinet. It's Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah. I like that. Well, this has been a real fun time. Thank you both for joining us. And Congresswoman Jennifer Gonzalez, she's such a rock star as well. These are some of our finest Latino leaders fighting every day for President Trump and to get him reelected. These are the real people, the real Americans out there who understand the needs of the Latino community. But remember, we can't sit on the sidelines. Y'all got to get involved. This is a big movement. And the way to do this is you got to download our app. That's one way to do that. And just make sure you get involved and you figure out what events are happening around your neighborhood. We are going to be literally going across the country, delivering the message of promises made, promises kept, and also talking about the weak leadership and the atrocious record of Joe Biden. You can also get involved by texting Trump or Vamos, actually. That would be even better. Text Vamos at 88022 in order to get updates from the campaign. And if you want to volunteer, another great way is go to armyfortrump.com. That's an opportunity to get your friends and your colleagues involved. Look, we're not going to win this election just by sitting at home. This is about knocking on doors. This is about making phone calls. This is about going to Abuelita's house to say, hey, you and your friends have to come with me and get out to vote, because this election is critical. This is going to be the determination whether we will move towards being a socialist country under Joe Biden and his far left friends, or if we're going to save America, save our freedoms, and protect our democracy and our republic. So with that, remember to stay strong. Remember to stay courageous. Don't be silenced by the left, because we stand by you and President Trump stands by you. So with that, good night, buenas noches, God bless you, God bless President Trump, and God bless America.
vibing off Sade's Smooth Operator. That was Agent Stereo, LA to Chicago. Mark Funk and Makito bringing you For the Love, and my friend Maurizio Colella, aka EDX's latest bomb, Adore Me. For any DJs listening, you can find these tracks and the freshest promos from the world's top labels at zipdj.com, so be sure to check it out. Well, it's already my time, but this next one is truly one of my favorites at the moment, coming from JT Donaldson. This is Stay Inside. Thanks again for joining me with All House. And until next time, Nick Fiorucci saying see ya and take care.
Alright. has been the All House Experience. Brought to you by Nick Fiorucci and powered by ZipDJ.com. ZipDJ is the elite digital DJ pool for professional DJs only. DJs sign up today and get access to hundreds of new promo tracks weekly from the world's top labels. All House. All House. Presented by ZipDJ. 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 ZipDJ.
Bentley Brandt in the house.
This is RadioColetti.com.